right, everybody. Folks online, you do not have to turn on your camera, though you are welcome to. We are recording this meeting since we have a speaker who is joining us virtually. I want to take a second to introduce myself. My name is Brandon Hill. I'm the internal vice president here with the JCs, and I am honored to be introducing our speaker for tonight. Before we do that, we do have a first-time guest with us here, so just want to give a brief introduction to the JCs. The JCs are a young professional development organization with an emphasis on developing strong leaders and community service. This foundation that you're in today is an offshoot of the JCs themselves. That does a lot of work in affordable housing, which is an effort very close to the JC International part. So we can talk a little bit later about some of the volunteer work that we do and the projects that we're working on. But without much further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into tonight's agenda, if that's all right with you. So everybody online, if you have issues hearing or seeing anything, please feel free to unmute and chime in.
I have issues saying.
Yes, we know. Thank you, ma'am.
You count.
So if anybody needs anything, just feel free to raise your hand online and let us know. With that, let me go ahead and introduce our speaker for tonight, Chelsea Tibbetts. Chelsea is the Senior Director of Advancement Operations for the Greater Tarrant County Boys and Girls Club. She's going to be speaking to us tonight about being a solid human and what makes you a standout professional and essentially emerging from mediocrity. So Chelsea, if you can hear me, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everybody. Can you all hear me okay?
We can, and we can see you, so we're good to go.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I feel just honored to be able to chat with you, and thank you just for trusting me with your group and for the opportunity to spend some time with you this evening. I'm going to kind of give you a brief overview of what I'm going to talk with you about. If you are a person who wants to know why this lady on the screen is talking with you this evening and wants to know how long I'm going to be talking to you, I'm going to chat with you about four things, four hopefully practical things that you can take away and apply in your life. And then wrap up. Hopefully, maybe you have some things that you want to talk about, or maybe even some questions I can answer for you. So I think I'll start by just maybe telling you a little bit about myself. I think maybe Brandon circulated my bio, or maybe you saw it on Facebook, but I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about me. As you can see, I'm not there with you. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so in Texas. And so I'm in a place that is likely much warmer than it is where you are. It was like almost 90 degrees here today, which is really awesome. Anyway, so yeah, I'm in Texas. Like Brandon said, my title is I'm a Senior Director of Advancement Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Tarrant County. That's a really fancy way of saying that I have the opportunity to share the story of the good work that the Boys and Girls Club is doing here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with Boys and Girls Club. It has a pretty rich history across the nation, actually. We have 4,500 sites across the country. It's likely maybe you have heard of one or even been to one in your lifetime, maybe volunteered at one at some point in time. My role is I lead our fundraising and marketing team. So the one that I serve at here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area is actually the largest of its size here in the state. And we serve about 36,000 youth every year who come to us with a variety of challenges, most of them with challenges at home. They probably come from households that have low educational attainment. They're probably exposed to things like drugs and alcohol at a really young age. I have the privilege of leading a really remarkably talented team that is solely responsible for generating revenue for the organization. We're a $12 million organization. and my team is responsible for $4.5 million of that from special events and individual contributions. And then the remaining, they write in federal and Department of Education grants as well to run the organization. So lots of really good work. Really, really proud of them. I also have the opportunity to contribute to some really cool strategic partnerships that are allowing us to expand into new counties this year. That's my dog, if you see her. So that's Lucy. Sorry if she's distracting to you. Anyway, long story short, I am both incredibly proud and humbled to serve at the Boys and Girls Club. And I will tell you that working at a nonprofit, it is not cute and not always dreamy. It is incredibly hard work, and make no mistake, it is a business. It is incredibly hard work. It's just the business of serving people. So before I was at the club, I actually worked at Nationwide Financial right there in Columbus, Ohio. I worked in corporate sponsorships and in philanthropy there. I also worked at a boutique PR firm there in the Columbus area, where I had the opportunity to work with Limited Brands and the Les Wexner family on their property, planning events and some of their philanthropic endeavors. I also served as a wedding planner for a period of time. I totally thought that was the dream, to be like J-Lo and plan weddings. Anyone seen that movie?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's not. Ended up not being what I wanted to do. So I did that for a very short period of time. And then I was a softball coach at New Albany High School as well. I'm a mental health advocate. I volunteer at a variety of organizations and have the opportunity to speak on the topic of accessible mental health treatment, specifically in the area of eating disorder treatment. So I have lots of titles, lots of things that I do, and kind of rattled off a lot of them. But my most important one is I'm a mom and a wife. But really, I'm a mom to 3 little girls, and I cannot miss the opportunity to share them with you. This is the fam. That's my husband, Mike. We've been married for 10 years. He's a football coach here for a very successful high school program here in the area. And then my oldest is Kyle. She's almost 7. The middle one is Scout. She's 2. And my youngest is Murphy, and she's 3 months old. So that is a little bit about me, a little bit about my family. And yeah, so there you go. I am excited to chat with you because I think it's likely that you are all really talented professionals in what you do, or talented humans in however you spend your days. And I don't know exactly what that looks like for you, but I'm sure you're all really, really good at it. But I would like to propose to you that there could be some things that you can adjust in your personal life that might make you a really solid human, and you might also see some adjustments in your professional that as you in your professional life that you might see make you a standout professional in your work life. So I'd like to share a few things about you, about the millennial workforce. Lots of things said about millennials in the workforce these days. And according to the Pew Research Center in 2017, that's when the millennials took over the workforce and officially became the largest generation in the workforce. They've dominated the workforce starting in 2017, okay? And actually, boomers really paved the way for millennial women. And that in 2017, 75% of millennial women actually were employed. So majority of women were in the workforce. However, according to Gallup, in 2020, 55% of millennial workers are disengaged in their work, which leads to lower rates of productivity, high rates of turnover. 24% of millennials are satisfied with their career progress. So not very many people. So lots of millennials in the workforce, but very few of them are satisfied. career progress, and 73% of them are working more than 40 hours a week. So it's not because they're not working, right? And I think there's a lot of stigma out there that like millennials are not committed to work. Well, these statistics would prove something different. So I'm guessing, just from what Brandon has told me about this group, that the majority of you likely fit in that millennial category. It's maybe even likely that you are a little bit frustrated by some of those statistics that I read. Sometimes I am as well. So I'm thinking that maybe you also are at a pivotal point in your career. So I think we are a generation of workers we have a wealth of education, we have a wealth of access, we have a wealth of talent and opportunity that can really change the trajectory of our careers, but we're faced with a lot of decisions. Do I want to continue to work, or do I want to build my family? Does working more mean that I am actually going to gain success in the workforce? Am I able to gain success in the workforce while building my family? We have lots of decisions to make on a daily basis. So I would suggest that taking a step back and just evaluating a few things and then taking some practical steps forward to better yourself as a human would actually make you a standout professional and actually help you attain success for you, however that looks for you. And I think we have to stop making success kind of a universal thing. Success for you is going to look a lot different than it looks for me because we're just different people, right? So I am going to give you 4 really practical points. All right, ready?
Right.
All right. So here is point number 1. Establish your non-negotiables. Any of you shopped like for a house or a home, recently, anytime in your whole life, right? You're like, I've got to have this in my kitchen. I've got to have this many bathrooms, this many bedrooms, whatever it is. Okay. You have your set of non-negotiables. Well, I think it's important to have those in your life too. And they can be as simple or as extravagant as you need them to be. And I think they can change from season to season. We live in a world where people talk about things like boundaries and work-life balance. And honestly, I'm not a person who believes in work-life balance. You're never going to hear that from me. I do believe in work-life harmony. I think that we have seasons where our work demands more of us and our work life is intense or our home life is intense. And therefore we have to invest more energy into that. And hopefully it balances out, right? Hopefully when my work life is more intense, my spouse is able to give more energy at home, or things at home are a little more calm, or vice versa, right? So, but it very rarely are things like completely balanced. It just really never happens. So I think sometimes we have to like eliminate that expectation from our life. I also think that boundaries, while they're amazing, I think they're different from person to person. And I think they look different from season to season. I think while I have some coworkers who have really, really strong boundaries, my boundaries might look different. So for example, in my job, we will raise 1/3 of our budget. So 1/3 of that $4.5 million in the last quarter, 1/3 of it. So that means October, November, and December is likely the busiest time of the year. Also, my husband is a football coach. So I'll let you think about that a little bit. It is really challenging. I have to work really hard to make sure my kids are taken care of, that my job is taken care of. It also means that I have to go into that season knowing what the non-negotiables are and standing firm in those non-negotiables. So I would challenge you to think about what your non-negotiables are. Here are some things that I think about when I'm establishing non-negotiables. What helps me make most sound decisions? What helps me extend the most grace to my employees and to my children? What frame of mind do I need to be in to make sound decisions and extend grace? In other words, what motivates me? What motivates you? What do you notice about your day? Like what makes you nervous? What makes you anxious? What energizes you? What makes you excited? I would encourage you to just, I had a great therapist one time who said, Chelsea, just notice what you notice. Spend some time noticing what you notice in those seasons, write them down, maybe try out some non-negotiables and then establish them and communicate them to your people. I think it's important to have non-negotiables for yourself in your personal life and in your work life. I think those are really important. I think that it helps you kind of go back to establishing boundaries and that harmony that we were talking about, okay? So for me, my non-negotiables, these are gonna sound silly, but they're gonna make sense. My personal non-negotiables, so just for me, are move your body. This is every day. Move your body, drink 1 gallon of water, take in the word of God. Please notice, those did not say vigorous exercise, drink 1 gallon of water by a certain time of day, and read your Bible or do your devotional, okay? Move your body sometimes looks like playing with my kids in the driveway. It sometimes looks like slamming a bunch of water while I'm making dinner because I'm a little behind in my water intake. And it sometimes looks like listening to my Bible app while I'm getting ready in the morning. It just depends on my season of life. But what I do know is that when I do those things, I feel like the best Chelsea, and I feel like I can make my best decisions at work, and I feel like I can be the best mom. In my professional life, my non-negotiables are I'm going to work for an organization that prioritizes community investment. I may not work at a nonprofit my whole life, but I am going to work in a space that prioritizes investing in the community in which they're situated in some capacity. I'm going to work somewhere where women have a seat at the table. It may not mean there's always a woman, a woman CEO, but it means that women have a spot, women have an opportunity, and they're going to empower employees to communicate proactively. So establish your non-negotiables. That's point number 1. Point number 2, commit to a high performance mindset. And I would say commit to a high performance mindset by taking advantage of every single opportunity. I have been told several times by lots of people, including my family members, that I'm really serious, I'm really deep. Sometimes my dad calls me intense. I'm choosing to take that as a compliment. I was also told in a meeting a couple weeks ago that I'm professionally dominant. So also choosing to take that as a compliment. Sometimes my personality is really strong. And sometimes I've been really self-conscious about that. As I was thinking about this though, there have actually been very few occasions that has been a disservice to me. And I think, occasionally I have overreacted and that has been a disservice to me. But usually that has not failed me. So I would like to encourage you that, especially if you're feeling stuck in a career move or even in a relationship, that even the smallest of interactions can really change the game. My husband and I moved from Columbus, Ohio to Fort Worth, Texas. I think it was 8 years ago. And we moved here for my husband's job. And actually we were going through a really major, we were going through a major life transition. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with my career. I felt like I wanted a fresh start. And so I moved here without a job. And I have this really amazing blessing in having a dad and having parents who were already here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And my dad had a really established career and is an executive here in the retail world. And so we had some family friends just like from his work. And so I had met a few people. And luckily my dad had kind of always taught me to just like really take care of those relationships. In fact, my dad always said to me, and I don't know if this is the best thing to say, I'm going to go for it. He used to say to me, don't pee in my pool. Like, don't ruin relationships, like take care of relationships. So wouldn't you know it, I'm driving from Ohio with my dog, Lucy, to Fort Worth without a job. And I get a phone call from a lady who worked with my dad, who actually happens to now be the CFO at the vitamin shop. And she called and she said, hey, I know somebody. I think you should just meet her. I think you should just meet her when you get here and she might have a job for you. And ended up meeting this person for coffee, getting to know her and kind of telling her, this is what my background is. This is what I feel like I'm good at naturally. This is what I'm passionate about. Long story short, she is the CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Tarrant County. She hired me without any formal training in the fundraising world, took a chance on me because I got the recommendation of this lady who was my dad's friend. And Daphne is the CEO's name, invested in me, gave me space to develop. She trusted in me. Don't get me wrong. I worked my tail off and I took advantage of every single opportunity, every training. Anytime I could get FaceTime with her, I took advantage of it. But that relationship that I thought was just a friend of my parents ended up changing the trajectory of my life. And now I've learned from this incredible leader who leads one of the largest nonprofits in the country, and I get to lead alongside of her. That's incredible. And not only am I getting to lead, my career is developed, I'm changing the trajectory for youth across the country, right? I'm getting to do not only what I'm good at, but I'm getting to do something I'm passionate about. That's even better. Something I love to do, something I'm passionate about. That's even better. So, but what I did as I was growing and what I still do is I tend to over prepare. And honestly, it's my number one suggestion to every single young professional. Over prepare for every single encounter. It doesn't matter if you are going to a meeting with the entire board of directors or a small segment of the committee or a one-on-one coffee with somebody. Prepare for it like your career depends on it. It will never fail you. I run my meetings with a staff member one-on-one, with my entire team planning a special event, or with the senior leadership team working on a strategic project with the same agenda, the same cadence every time. And that ensures the following. It ensures that meeting can run in my absence. It ensures that my people know what to expect from me, and I'm setting my employees up for success, because that's my job as their leader, is to raise them up to be successful in those situations. It ensures a high value work product. I want to leave the people who work for me better than the way that I found them. I want to invest in them in a way that when they come to me, they grow and they go on to do bigger and better things. So my mindset is that every single meeting is an opportunity to move the needle. It's an opportunity to raise dollars. It's an opportunity to advance a relationship, or it's an opportunity to better an individual. I think there are lots of people in this world. There are lots of young professionals who are talented, who are smart, who are educated, and there's always going to be someone who seems to be more so than you.
How do you know?
But I will tell you that if you want to be successful, you're going to have to be ravenous for the next step. You're going to have to be ravenous to get in front of people, and you're going to have to be just aggressive about taking the next step. So, point number 2, commit to a high performance mindset. Take advantage of every opportunity. Point number 3, build your village, protect it relentlessly. This is so cliche, build your village. It's something I'm so passionate about, guys. And I'm so passionate about this for every phase of life. It's something I talk to my 7-year-old about, not always in these terms, but I talk to her about it. something also really cliche is we all have strengths. And I think the best thing we can do is know our strengths, develop them. Okay. Know our strengths, develop them, fill in the gaps. We live in a culture where we're fed this narrative that we need to be everywhere, we need to do everything. And if we aren't there, we sure as heck better need to, we need to be connected in some way, shape, or form. And if we are going to go somewhere and we're going to contribute to something, we better contribute in the biggest, best way possible. For example, if I'm going to the kids' Halloween party, I better make the Halloween costume. Or if I'm going to a potluck, I better have made something instead of bought something. I better make this slide deck for the presentation. Y'all know what I'm saying? Like there's so much pressure to do all these things. I would love, just like in this moment, to release you from that. I believe in building a quality, trusted village that allows you to develop your natural skills to further maximize your impact with those skills so that you can be more present in situations. Let me give you an example, a couple examples, okay? I hate arts and crafts. I know, I'm a mom. You would think I'd love them. I hate them. I really hate them. The mess. I want my kids to be able to do them, but I'm not good at them. So I am like a part of like a little like moms group, and we get together once a month and we rotate houses. And I finally came clean and just said, y'all, I will host every single one. Can someone else lead the activity? I'll provide the cocktails, I'll provide the snacks, and I'll provide the house. I'm not doing the craft. It's amazing. Once you just release yourself from it, no one expects me to do it. I'm not good at it. And now my kids have the best time because they're doing a craft they actually love, and they're enjoying doing it. Okay. And another mom is leading it. I get to do what I'm good at, and they get to do what they're good at. And I'm giving someone else the opportunity to excel in that space. Okay. The other thing is, in my job, sometimes I am so energized by moving our mission ahead. It can leave me with blind spots. So for example, I'm just like, if I'm just like seeing a kid I want to help, or I want to help their family with a housing situation, or even something as simple as school supplies, or I want to make an event bigger and better than we've ever done before. All those things are really noble and they're really great. But my job is to make sure they have like a miraculous financial result, and to make sure that we have, like the best stewardship of our resources. And so it's important that the team I have around me is really good at filling in the gaps for me. It means they're able to run, to run my ideas through the lens and see what areas I might be lacking in, to make sure we're stewarding our resources the best. And I want to specifically call attention to what I said was, I think it's important you build a trusted village. Okay. I think those non-negotiables we talked about, I think you got to run your people through that lens, guys. I think that it's really important to say, here are my non-negotiables. Who are the people who can come alongside me in my non-negotiables? Because if those people don't fit into that plan, whether that's your coworkers, the people you're hiring for your teams, are they fitting into your organization's strategic vision, your team's strategic vision? Are your friends going to help you, are they life-giving in your life? Are they helping you uphold those non-negotiables you have for yourself personally? If they're not, you need to rethink the village. It doesn't mean you can't be their friend, but maybe they're not this, the end all be all in your friend group. If they are, you need to protect them, and protect them at all costs, because those are really hard friends to find. It's hard to find those people as an adult, especially, I'm finding. I'm also just feeling like it's important that I'm surrounding myself with people who are going to give me who are going to help me create my thoughts in a way that are encouraging and uplifting and are helping me achieve my professional goals. So build your village, protect it relentlessly. That's point number 3. All right, point number 4. Okay, invest and serve. It's probably no surprise to you that the lady who works at the nonprofit is going to tell you, I think it's important to give your time, your talent, and your money to your local community. I'm sure you're not surprised to hear that at all. I'd like to offer you a couple different perspectives on this, though. I think that deciding what you put your money and your time into, whatever you choose to invest in, whatever is important to you, and I encourage you to explore that too. What are you going to choose to invest in? Is of course compassionate. I also think it's smart. So the first thing is, I think you should evaluate what are you passionate about? Like, what are you really passionate about? Maybe it's an area of your life that you feel like maybe there's someone who really invested in you that you feel like you need to give back in the same way so that you can invest in the generation coming up behind you. I also think that when we invest in communities, we're investing in our future workforce. And that makes us globally better, makes us globally stronger. So to illustrate this, I'd like to share 2 examples with you. I have 2, so I'm going to use this to kind of wrap up our time. This might get a little abstract, so just kind of stick with me, okay? As I have shared, I am remarkably passionate about Boys and Girls Club. I'm actually really passionate about just like leveling the playing field for kids in the margins. And in particular, kids who are stuck in cycles of poverty and who are experiencing some sort of abuse and may not ever have access to opportunity that you and I maybe would, simply because of the household they were born in. I'm really passionate about that. We have a Boys and Girls Club in a public housing neighborhood, and one of the programs we do takes fresh produce into those spaces, because a lot of our kids, they buy their groceries at like a convenience store or a gas station, and so fresh produce is not something they've been exposed to. So there's this little kid, his name is Zion, and the kids are at this club all day during the summer. And so during the summertime, we took fresh fruit yogurt parfaits over there. This is not something they have ever experienced before. I know that's crazy, but it just is not. And this little kid is 11 years old and looked at me and said, "Miss Chelsea, is that a raspberry?" And I said, "Yeah." And to be frank, my kids love raspberries, and I buy them regardless of like if they're in season or not. Like we like always have them. That's how privileged we are. And he was like, can I try them? And I said, "Yes, as many as you want." And he goes, "Oh, Miss Chelsea, I get to have a raspberry." Like he was that excited about the daggone raspberry. And it is those encounters that make me, they propel me to do my job. And I work in an administrative office, and I have to make a conscious choice to get up out of my desk and go encounter a hands-on mission experience. I make a point to do it at least once a week, because if I don't have the drive, I don't have the motivation to move the needle in terms of raising dollars and in terms of marketing the organization. I can't do my best work unless I do that. And here's what I know. When I invest my dollars into kids, I'm investing in the people who are going to lead the community. Like I said, the community in which I live. Those are lawyers, they're doctors, they're teachers, they're politicians, they're moms, they're dads. We need them. They're going to lead the communities that my kids are going to grow up in, that your kids are going to grow up in. So I'm going to invest in them. Even if all I have to give, because I got 3 kids in daycare, if all I have to give them right now is an encouraging word, that's what I'm going to do. So that's the first one. It's investing in Boys and Girls Club. And what I know is every dollar I invest in Boys and Girls Club, it returns 90 cents into communities. Shameless plug from the fundraising lady. Okay, Boys and Girls Clubs. There's another one, mental health. There's some specific components I want to tell you about this. And I feel like I have this really unique opportunity to share this with you as we're going into a unique time of year. We're actually going into National Eating Disorder Awareness Week, something that is really special to me and my family. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and share something that's just incredibly personal and important to me. And the first part of that story is actually about my faith. I'm incredibly fortunate that I grew up not just in a Christian household, and I say this very deliberately. I grew up in a household where my mom and my dad told me about Jesus, and they told me about the love of Jesus. And in 2013, when my sister was 20 years old, after an 18-month-long journey with bulimia, she died by suicide. It was a really intense sentence. And it's not something I'm ashamed of. I'm remarkably proud of her. And being her big sister, short of being the mother to my children, is one of the greatest joys of my life. The months after her passing, I searched and searched and searched for communities and groups where I could just identify with somebody who was maybe experiencing what I was experiencing. And to be honest, like, it just didn't exist. And sibling grief in particular is just so specific. And loving someone with an eating disorder is also really specific. And even if there are a lot of people out there who've experienced that, like, they don't talk about it. And you've probably guessed by now that, like, I'm willing to talk about it. So my husband and I found this church in Fort Worth. And it was in this church, I actually found these really specific types of small groups where I found healing and freedom and the love of Jesus like I have never experienced before. And the craziest thing happened. Once I experienced that and I stepped forward and said, I'm willing to lead others and help them navigate this experience, more women came forward and said, I'm experiencing that too. I'm experiencing that trauma too. And so one way that I give back to my community is leading small groups for women who are currently walking in trauma or have recently come out of trauma. Most importantly, I've developed a boldness to raise my hand and be an advocate for mental health treatment for everyone, regardless of their income. And I've been really transparent about that in my career. And I've been really transparent about that just in my walk in life. And I have found that has served me really well. And I don't say that as an opportunistic situation. I'm saying that as something that has just really, honestly, really richly blessed my life and my relationships. So deciding what you're passionate about, I don't think is something that is cute. I think it is about developing a culture of generosity in the places that you work and in your families. I think developing that culture and carrying that culture out, whatever that looks like for you, giving of your time or giving of your money, and giving of a skill that even if you think it's not important, it probably is. People need you. People need what you have to give. So just find a way to give it. Be willing to step out and give in some capacity. Generosity is just a value that is worth cultivating. And thinking this way as a young professional is just going to really set you apart. I believe that wholeheartedly. It will set you apart from other young people in this world. So all in all, we live in a world where you're getting a lot of messages. You even today, like in this, like however many minutes, 41 minutes that I spoke with you, had a lot of opportunities to take in messages. And you chose to take this in. So I'm so grateful. I think whatever you're trying to do, whether it's be a better human, a better mom, a better dad, a better sibling, a better leader, a better employee, make it to the next level in management. There's something here that's applicable for you. I encourage you to grab a hold of one of these. And maybe all that is just marinating on what are those non-negotiables going to be in your life? How can you apply that in your life? Like this week, how can we notice what you notice? And then how can you apply a non-negotiable next week? How can you commit to a high performance mindset? Who's in your village? Are those the people you want to be in your village? And then how can you invest in the communities in which you live? So thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I guess if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or if, I don't know if y'all have anything else on your agenda, whatever's next for you works well for me.
So that's it for our agenda, Chels. I think we've got some folks who'd like to chime in and have a conversation.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you mind if we stopped sharing so that we could all see each other?
Yeah, hold on 1 second.
I think,
did you do?
yeah, I think I forced it. Sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, Chelsea. First of all, thank you so much for doing this. I could listen to you talk for a long time. That was amazing.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. I want to go back to where you kind of started, and you talked about, millennials being disengaged, and kind of a two-part question. I think one, do you feel like, I think a lot of people blame that on millennials and who they are and how they grew up. I mean, do you feel like that comes some from the leadership and not engaging them properly? And then the other part of that is, I feel like, and I don't know about in Texas, but around here, even a lot of groups are saying our numbers are down. People aren't, getting as involved as they used to be. Do you feel like there's something we can do on our end to engage more people? I know there is probably not a right answer, but some of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts on that. First of all, I want to make sure I'm answering your question correctly, because I have a couple thoughts on it from like a hiring perspective, and then also from a volunteerism standpoint.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, I think from a workforce standpoint, I think we're not engaging millennials the way they want to be engaged. And I also think we are assuming millennials can't be trusted by the narrative we're putting out into the world. I think, I don't know, I think, and I am a millennial, so I do it.
Yeah.
But I do think that millennials want to feel connected to their work in some way, shape, or form. And I don't mean that in a way they want to feel good about it. I think everyone wants to feel good about their work, but I mean, even if they're at an entry-level position, I feel like I think they want to know they're connected in what the organization is doing as a whole. So how does what I'm doing on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis connect to the organization's overall strategic plan? I think is something I'm seeing a lot of success in as I'm leading my team, helping them understand that what they're doing, even as they're managing a database or implementing a volunteer program structure, how is that moving the mission needle ahead and accomplishing our overall strategic goals? So that's the first thing, is just helping millennials feel connected to the work globally. And I think we can do that in a way, maybe that's like quarterly meetings. I'm seeing a lot, and I think doing them in person actually really helps. I think a lot of people like to work remote, and that's fine, but I think like the in-person connectivity is really great, at least like on a quarterly basis. I also think millennials like to see it visually in some way, like a graphic, seeing the needle moving in some way, shape, or form is a really good way to engage millennials. I actually have a lot of thoughts on that. I'm happy to share them more with you offline if that's helpful. For groups like this are really tricky, right? People need to know what they're going to get out of it. And I hate to be that direct about it, but it's really true. Is that what you mean when you were asking about like this group?
Yeah.
So I have groups like two groups like this in my job, and it feels like you also almost have to like incentivize it. Which, and maybe that's one way to do it is, you know, incentivizing people's participation in groups like this. But I think it's really hard right now. People aren't volunteering like they used to. I also think that we're seeing millennials. I read somewhere that millennials have like it was like 21% of wealth right now in the United States. And so they're able to give financially more than they really ever have been. And so giving of their time, while they'll do it sometimes, they're also able to check the box of giving financially. And so giving of their time isn't as important. Sorry, I don't know if that is helpful at all, but that's a piece of insight that I'm seeing across the board.
What was the percentage of millennials that are working more than 40 hours?
It's 74%.
Okay, I'm just thinking, I mean, if you're working more than your fair share, that's gonna make it difficult to volunteer as well.
Exactly. That was a study by Deloitte.
Okay.
I have another question.
Please.
Not to take over the questions, but like I said, I really enjoyed listening to you, Chelsea.
Yeah.
One other question I had is, you know, you talked about, and I don't want to misquote you, but you talked about like saying yes to a lot of interactions. I think that's how you said it. But I think, you know, and I think you kind of answered it with some of your points, like you have to have people that a village to do other things. But, you know, I think a lot of people, or at least people in this room that continue to take on more things, have a hard time saying no. And it's like, you know, where do you find, and I know you talked about that word balance, is there a real balance? But can you talk a little bit the difference between saying yes to interactions but not saying yes to everything?
Yeah, I think I encourage people to say yes to meaningful interactions according to your non-negotiables. So if you're taking notes, you can write that down. Say yes to meaningful interactions according to your non-negotiables or according to your goals, right? So I think saying we all have those people. Let me back up. I created a problem for myself about 5 years ago at Boys and Girls Club, where I was so hungry to advance in title and in compensation. And we were experiencing rapid growth that I said yes to literally everything, thinking that was going to be the answer to my advancement. And it wasn't. And in fact, I just got really burnt out and I got really bitter about the people that I worked with, and people took advantage of me, even the people who were working for me. And what I realized is that I became this manager, not a leader, a manager who said, it's just so much easier for me to just do this than to teach someone else how to do it. Well, that's not what I've been called to do. And that's not what I'm paid to do, and there are two different things there, right? What I'm called to do is lead people to develop as leaders. That's what God's called me to do in my career here. And also I'm paid to do that. I'm paid to lead this team to generate revenue for the organization. So I want to take on interactions that allow me to do that. So it caused me to have to back up and say, nope, I'm going to say yes to interactions, tasks, and projects that propel me in either success in raising money, market the organization successfully. And I'm just talking professionally right now, not even in my personal life. So market the organization, generate revenue for the organization, or are beneficial for the people who work on my team. And there are lots of different things that fall into those categories. But I think the best thing that you can do for yourself is determine what those non-negotiables are and either teach someone how to do things alongside you and help you, so that you don't have to do every little thing, and learn how to delegate. Guys, that's a critical skill. You don't have to do, and I'm just encouraging you at this, you don't have to do everything to advance in your career. That doesn't, and I gotta tell you something else. You don't have to know how to do everything to manage every position on your team. I manage someone right now who manages our website and writes it all in code, and I do not know how to write website code. I do not know how to do that. I just Google it if I need to. But, does that answer your question at all?
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
I think I've got a question as well, Chelsea, but I want to give folks online a chance. If anybody has an interest in asking a question or want to continue this conversation, please feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself. We don't want to make you feel excluded from the conversation here today. So want to open the floor to that as well. I'm not immediately seeing any hands going up, so I'll go ahead and ask the question. And if this spurs on some conversation from the folks online, feel free to join in. Chelsea, you mentioned releasing yourself from pressure that doesn't line up with your skills and your passion and your love. Do you have any practical advice for us on how to release ourselves from certain pressures while not seeming like we're just saying no to something that we're maybe perhaps being expected to do or having put onto our plate?
Yes, I do. This is so hard. It's so hard, but it's so valuable. Okay. I call it the compliment sandwich. Okay. Compliment somebody, insert the thing you want them to do, compliment them again. I'm going to give you an example. There's a person who works on my team. This sounds so silly, but I promise you it's going to work. You can try it. You can try it with your spouse or anyone that works with you. Okay. For example, okay. Haley, I love the way you have been selling sponsorships for this golf tournament that you coming up. You're so good at doing it. Because you've been so good at selling sponsorships, I'm thinking you actually probably could call this list of people and convince them to come to this meeting that we have for this group of volunteers. And I don't have the capacity to do it, and I'm not as good at it as you are. So do you think that you could do that for us? It would really help the organization, and I really feel like your skill set will help us move the needle in this area.
Nice.
What do you think?
I think it's great. It's brilliant.
Yeah. It's about just like encourage. I use it with my husband all the time.
I love it.
Michael, you're so good at doing the laundry. Could you do this tomorrow? You look so good doing it.
Part that's getting him.
Yeah.
Write that one down. Yeah.
Excellent. Any other questions or discussion points? Well, Chelsea, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
It was really, I think I've taken 4 pages of notes, so
I'm glad.
really appreciate all of your insights and your personal stories and just the phenomenal leadership points that you were able to convey to everybody here tonight. So again, thank you so much for giving of your time and your effort to participate here with us. And I hope that come next year, you'd be willing to jump on our roster again if you were invited and participate.
Absolutely. And you have my email, so feel free to circulate that. If y'all think of any other questions or want any other insight, feel free to reach out. I'm far away, but easy to reach out to.
Awesome. Well, we will. I'll make sure that gets circulated to everybody, and make that available. So thanks so much for your time. For everybody online, We're going to go ahead and disconnect here at the foundation, but we appreciate your participation and attendance here today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you'll join us for next month's meeting on the 21st when we hear from the head of the Chief Platform Officer for Mid-Ohio Food Collective, who will be talking about the ever-changing technological advancements that we're seeing in the professional landscape and how that's going to radically change the way that we work into the future. So if that sounds like an interesting presentation, I'd encourage everybody to turn out for it. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you again, Chelsea.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.